The moment millions of Americans have been anxiously anticipating has finally arrived, and the news is spreading like wildfire across the nation. After months of speculation, heated debates in Congress, and countless sleepless nights for seniors wondering how they'll make ends meet, President Trump has delivered on a promise that many thought was too good to be true. This isn't just another political promise that gets forgotten after election season. This is real money, hitting real bank accounts, for real Americans who have worked their entire lives and deserve every penny they're about to receive. The announcement came through official channels just days ago, and the response has been nothing short of extraordinary. Social media platforms exploded with reactions. Phone lines at Social Security offices have been ringing nonstop, and financial advisors are scrambling to help their clients understand exactly what this means for their monthly budgets and long-term financial planning. The Double Payment Initiative represents one of the most significant changes to Social Security distribution in decades, and for many recipients, it could mean the difference between barely scraping by and actually having some breathing room in their finances. We are talking about a substantial injection of cash into the pockets of retirees, disabled individuals, and survivors who depend on these benefits not as luxury income, but as their primary or sole source of financial support. But here's where things get really interesting, and why you need to pay attention to every detail of what's happening right now. The structure of this double payment isn't what most people initially assumed when rumors first started circulating. This isn't simply the government sending out two checks for the same amount back to back. The mechanics are far more sophisticated, and understanding exactly how this works is crucial if you want to maximize the benefit and avoid any confusion when you check your bank account or mailbox. The administration has designed this system to address multiple concerns simultaneously, tackling both immediate financial needs and longer-term budgetary considerations that have kept economists and politicians debating for years. The first component of this double payment addresses what financial experts call the cost of living adjustment gap, which has been a thorn in the side of retirees for years. While Social Security does include annual COLA increases designed to help benefits keep pace with inflation, there's always been a lag between when prices actually rise and when those adjustments kick in. During periods of rapid inflation like we've experienced recently, this lag can be devastating for seniors on fixed incomes who suddenly find themselves paying dramatically more for groceries, medications, utilities, and other essentials while their Social Security checks remain frozen at last year's levels. The Double Payment Initiative includes a supplemental amount specifically calculated to bridge this gap, essentially providing retroactive relief for the purchasing power that recipients lost during the months when inflation was outpacing their benefit increases. The second component is even more significant and represents a fundamental shift in how the administration is thinking about Social Security's role in supporting American seniors. This portion of the double payment comes from reallocating certain federal funds that were previously tied up in bureaucratic processes and administrative overhead. By streamlining operations and cutting redundant systems, the administration identified substantial savings that can now be redirected straight to beneficiaries. Critics initially questioned whether these savings were real or just accounting tricks, but independent audits have confirmed that the money is there and the distribution is legitimate. This isn't borrowed money or deficit spending that future generations will have to pay back. These are genuine efficiencies translated into real dollars for people who desperately need them. The timing of these payments has been carefully orchestrated to align with existing Social Security distribution schedules, which means recipients don't have to do anything special or file any additional paperwork to receive their double payment. If you're already enrolled in Social Security, whether that's retirement benefits, disability insurance, or survivor benefits, you're automatically eligible for this enhanced payment. The money will arrive through the same method you currently use to receive your regular benefits, whether that's direct deposit to your bank account, loaded onto a Direct Express card, or in rare cases, mailed as a physical check. The seamless integration into existing payment systems was a deliberate choice designed to minimize confusion and ensure that vulnerable populations, particularly elderly recipients who might struggle with new technology or complicated enrollment processes, wouldn't be left behind or forced to navigate bureaucratic hurdles to access funds they're entitled to receive. Now, let's talk about the specific amounts, because this is where the rubber really meets the road and where individuals can start calculating exactly what this means for their personal financial situation. The double payment doesn't mean everyone receives the exact same amount. Just like regular Social Security benefits vary based on your work history, earnings record, and the type of benefit you receive, the supplemental amount in this double payment is also calculated on an individualized basis. However, preliminary data suggests that the average recipient will see somewhere between $800 and $1,500 in additional funds beyond their regular monthly payment. For someone receiving the average Social Security retirement benefit of around $1,700 per month, that supplemental amount represents nearly an entire additional month's worth of income appearing all at once. For families living paycheck to paycheck, or in this case, check to check on their Social Security income, this kind of financial boost isn't just helpful, it's transformative in ways that people who haven't experienced financial insecurity might struggle to fully comprehend. Imagine being a widow in her 70s who has been putting off necessary dental work for 2 years because she simply couldn't afford the copays, even with Medicare. Imagine being a retired factory worker who spent 40 years contributing to Social Security and now finds himself choosing between purchasing his blood pressure medication and keeping the heat on during winter months. For these individuals and millions like them, this double payment represents more than just numbers in a bank account. It represents dignity, options, relief, and hope that maybe, just maybe, they won't have to spend their golden years in constant survival mode. The economic ripple effects of pumping this much money directly into the hands of Social Security recipients extend far beyond individual households and touch nearly every sector of the American economy. They're not stashing it away in offshore accounts or playing the stock market. They're going to the grocery store and buying fresh vegetables instead of the cheapest processed foods. They're getting that prescription filled that they've been rationing. They're paying down a credit card that's been charging them usurious interest rates. They're getting their grandchild a birthday present instead of showing up empty-handed and apologizing. They're supporting local businesses, keeping money flowing through their communities, and creating what economists call a multiplier effect, where each dollar of Social Security spending generates additional economic activity as it circulates through the system. Small business owners in communities with high concentrations of retirees are already reporting increased customer traffic and higher sales volumes in anticipation of these payments hitting accounts. The owner of a family restaurant in a Florida retirement community told reporters that she's already seen seniors coming in for meals who previously would only order water and split an appetizer. A pharmacist in Arizona mentioned that patients who had been asking to put prescriptions on hold until next month are now saying they can afford to fill everything their doctors prescribed. An automotive repair shop in Pennsylvania reported a surge in appointments from elderly customers who have been driving on bald tires and ignoring check engine lights because they simply didn't have the funds to address mechanical issues. These aren't frivolous purchases or luxury spending. This is basic maintenance of health, safety, and quality of life that many seniors have been forced to defer or skip entirely, and the double payment is finally giving them the financial breathing room to address these accumulated needs. The political implications of this payment distribution are equally fascinating and have set off intense debates about the future of Social Security policy and entitlement reform. President Trump's opponents initially dismissed the double payment announcement as a cynical political stunt designed to buy loyalty from a voting bloc that turns out reliably in elections. They questioned the funding mechanism, demanded investigations into whether existing Social Security trust funds were being rated to pay for current political promises, and warned that today's generosity might lead to tomorrow's benefit cuts if the program's long-term solvency isn't carefully protected. These concerns aren't entirely without merit. Social Security's financial future has been a source of anxiety for decades, with trustees regularly warning that without reforms, the program won't be able to pay full benefits once the trust fund reserves are depleted sometime in the next decade. Any policy that accelerates payments or increases distributions naturally raises questions about whether we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, or in this case, robbing future retirees to provide extra benefits to current ones. However, the administration's defenders point to several factors that they argue make these concerns overblown or even completely misplaced. First, they emphasize that the supplemental payments are not coming from the Social Security Trust funds themselves, but rather from general revenue sources and the administrative savings we mentioned earlier. The firewall between Social Security's dedicated funding stream and these supplemental payments is supposedly rock solid, meaning the long-term actuarial projections for the program remain unchanged. Second, they argue that critics are ignoring the broader economic context in which these payments are being distributed. By putting money in the hands of people who will immediately spend it in the real economy, the double payment functions as a form of economic stimulus that can generate tax revenue through increased economic activity, partially offsetting the cost of the program. The demographic reality underlying all of this cannot be ignored when we're trying to understand why this issue has become such a political priority and why both parties are suddenly falling over themselves to prove their commitment to America's seniors. The baby boom generation, that massive cohort born between 1946 and 1964, has been aging into Social Security eligibility for years now, and the wave is still cresting. Every single day, more than 10,000 Americans turn 65, and this trend will continue for several more years until the entire boomer generation has reached retirement age. This represents the largest intergenerational wealth transfer and demographic shift in American history, and the political power of this voting bloc is absolutely enormous. Seniors vote at higher rates than any other age group. They're politically engaged, they communicate with their representatives, and they have very strong opinions about policies that affect their financial security. Any politician who ignores this constituency or who proposes policies that seniors perceive as threatening their benefits is playing with political fire.